Hey everybody, welcome back to Red G Fox. All right, today, you know what? It's not part of our normal routine, our 2 videos a week. This is something where we're gonna get every once in a while. I wanna talk about just anything Sanford and Son. When you have a channel you love and you have a show you love and a passion to share it and talk with you guys, this is nothing. This is just like, hey, I had an idea and so I went with it. And today, just like the title says, it is about who had the best side character, not Fred or Lamont the main, but the best side character introduction. They could all be great, but did they capture the character's personality? Did we get to know right away when we meet this character, is this how he's going to be throughout the show? Was he funny? Did he get the top lines or did Fred get the top lines? All those things go into play on this event, this category. So before we get started, I do want to say, hey, we reached the 300 subscribers. That is gigantic. Anytime, to me, when you reach triple digits, that's a big thing in YouTube world. I know there's people with millions, there's people with thousands, and it's like, it's nothing. It means a lot to me. So thank you to every single person that has subscribed. That means you really do love Sanford and Son, and you want to be around to quote, do the quizzes, and just watch and talk with me, because that's all it is. I talk, you guys respond with the comments, and then I respond back. It's great, and it's something we all share and love, and that is Sanford and Son. So I thank you very much. If we ever reach 3,000, 30,000, 100,000, which is the channel goal, if we do reach it, just know I'm still going to put the same work in. I'm going to have the same love and dedication. And if you ever see me out in public, please stop by. If you see the A, you recognize the face, the voice, come say hi. I would love to take a selfie with anyone who would ever recognize me. But besides that, let's get to it. And we're not going to do in the order. Now, we'll start with Melvin, who's obviously the first real friend that comes to the show. But we're not going to go in order. It'll be just whatever. Melvin, Season 1, Episode 9, and that is Coffins for Sale. And every time I think of Melvin, I get a gigantic smile on my face because I think he's such a funny character. His introduction to me, right off the bat, is going to be one of the best. Like I said, we don't have to. You could put in the comments who you think is best. I'm just going to put the grade system I have for it, and we can go from there. But Melvin's introduction, we know, is Coffins for Sale, and Lamont opens the door, and in that one, he comes walking in, and there's 2 coffins in there, right? Lamont's trying to sell the coffins. He bought them. Fred is not happy with it, and as he walks in, he says, "Hello, Lamont," and he's, "Hello, Fred," and then he sees the coffins, and within one giant motion, like he's just circling the lap at Talladega or something, he sees it, turns around, "Goodbye, Fred." It always kills me. "Goodbye, Lamont." And he just goes out, and Fred's like, "Melvin, come back." Now, we do get a little bit, the very following scene, they come and he's at night. So that's his first introduction. Right off the bat, we have to say, he gets the laughs, right? It's not a Fred or Lamont thing. It's not one of the jokes they do. It's not where Melvin makes a line and then it sets up, the punchline for Fred or Lamont to say it. He gets the laugh. His whole demeanor, the way he says it so smoothly and so calmly, and the whole event. So one of the best laughs for an introduction to a character. Then we get to see him that night, and he's talking, and as he's out there, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm not going in there as long as you got him." And him and Fred are just having a great conversation about how they're not superstitious, but then they're both pointing out how it might rain because my corns are hurting. I got a twitch in my eyes. Someone must be waiting for you at home. All these superstitious things, and how Melvin's like, "Why'd you bring him home?" And Melvin has another great line when he talks about how if he needs it, or if he's around, he don't need it. And if he needs it, he's not around. Talking about the coffins. So overall, Melvin's introduction to the show, we do get to see how he is, and he does stay the same. He gets the laughs on multiple occasions, and he's got a great, one of the best in opening or walking. He gets a lot of the funny lines. So for a grade, he gets an A+. Without a doubt, Melvin gets an A+ and goes down as probably, if not, one of the best character introduction. The next one, I'm gonna save a couple that I want to get to. Let's get to Bubba, who, see, now it seems like I'm going in order because Bubba is the next one to go. You know what? No, forget it. We're gonna go to Rollo. So in the episode, we first get to meet Rollo, and I know he's not one of Fred's friends, he's Lamont's, but still, how could you not think of Sanford and Son without thinking of Rollo? So his first one is Season 2, Episode 7. That is Have Gun, Will Sell, and we know that is the one where Rollo comes in, him and Lamont are going to go out, and we hear Fred go, "Is that Rita Lawson's boy?" And he's a troublemaker, and he's been to jail, and he's hearing rumors from other people in the neighborhood. And I don't think Rollo's ever been in jail, but he does hint at it whenever him and X-rated when they go there and they're in jail, and he kind of acts like he knows the whole routine, so maybe he has. But as he comes in, he opens the door, and right when he comes in, he's got the outfit that you love. So off the bat, we know now Rollo is cool. He is cool. He is a guy that probably can get you, if you need something illegal, he can find a friend who can get it. He seems like a guy you'd want to go out clubbing with, like Lamont does, goes hang out and party. And right off the bat, he's giving the 10, and he's all, how's it go? I got to get the words exactly to say, but I thought he said, "What's up, Pops?" And he's all, "Don't call me Pops." And he doesn't like that. And we already know Fred, right off the bat, is not going to have any part of Rollo's coolness and his attitude. And as they're chatting, Fred's talking about his suit, and then Rollo's like, "Nah, man." And I love the way Rollo just presents himself. He is so good. But he's like, "Nah, man, this is tailor-made by a gentleman's tailor." And then Fred's all, "Oh, yeah?" He's all, "Does the gentleman know his suit's missing?" So he gets a zinger right on Rollo. So we see right there, this is one where sometimes, like I said, the characters will come in, they'll make the comment and set up the joke for Fred, and Fred knocks it out of the park. That happens here, but I don't feel like Rollo was just a setup, because he comes in and he's giving the high five and he's cracking jokes, and then he whips out the cigar and he gives it to Fred, and he's like, "Here you go, he's a present." He's bringing a present. He's like, "This ain't one of those El Jointo, rolled with the green lettuce." And he's like, "No." But does it paint how Rollo is? Yes, we do get a feel that, hey, this guy's a cool cat. He's funny. He doesn't take a lot of offense, because a lot of times Fred gives him hard grief, and rarely do you see Rollo ever take it personal. He's just like, "Nah, man, I don't care." And that's why I love Rollo. Such an upbeat attitude. He is very cool. And he doesn't show it that, that he's upset by anything he says. And so, yes, he is cool. Throughout the series, we know he's a ladies' man, and he's very comical person as well. So overall, his introduction to the show is an A. It's an A. It's nearly perfection. It just, like I said, he didn't get too many of the zingers. It was mostly through Fred. So that is it for Rollo. Now we'll get to Bubba. Bubba, he comes out. His first one is season 2 in episode 1, right away, by the numbers. And we know this one is where Fred wants to play the numbers, and he has this dream, and Lamont talks him out of it, and he doesn't do it. And that as Fred falls asleep in a tub, and Lamont pours water on him, when he gets up, Bubba comes walking up. And right away, Bubba, he's dressed nice, right? They're nice clothes, but the colors are a little loud. And he's got a jacket that's kind of homely looking, and he's missing teeth. He just looks like one of those guys, maybe like he could have just crawled right out of bed. And as he sits there, what does he say? He comes up to him and he's like, "Hey," he said, "can I borrow some money?" And that's the thing. He's like, "Hey, Fred, he wants to borrow some money." And no comical lines, nothing. And then Fred's like, "Oh, you caught me at a bad time, Bubba." And he's all, "I have it." So Fred gets the funny line right there. And Bubba gets it, and then he tells him the story about the Christmas tree, and then he takes off, and he's like, "Thanks a lot." So nothing from Bubba really makes us laugh. And I don't get, Bubba from season 3, later on, season 5, season 6, doesn't feel like the same Bubba. Like, the Bubba you meet here in the introduction does not feel like the Bubba in A Watts Side Story, or The Greatest Circus in Watts. Right? That one's a little more comical. He's dressed like a clown. Like, I feel like his character evolved and changed drastically. So when it comes to that, and he didn't get any real jokes. The next best joke was when he leaves, and Lamont's like, "Well, Bubba had a dream too." And he's like, "Bubba's a fool. Who has a dream about a Christmas tree in the middle of September?" And he clowns him. So all the jokes were for Fred, and Bubba just had a very unmemorable, not that we love him, we love Bubba, but his, compared to the other ones we just talked about, his was not as a big blockbuster and did not hold pat to who Bubba was. It felt like he was very generic at the beginning. His grade was a C+ on Bubba when he came in. So let's get to, we'll go with Julio. And then once again, it's not Fred's friend, this one's Lamont's, and he comes in at season 2, episode 8. So what's great about that is it's right after Rollo. So this is why season 2 I absolutely love. It starts the train rolling. We're starting to get these guys popping left and right who are going to be so impactful. Sanford and Son, we just did a thing about Steptoe and Son and the impact it had, or created this. But how it was missing a Bubba, how it was missing a Grady, the other friends, and how Red Fox brought these guys in who were his friends, and he had a great vision for this. And that's what I think separates and sets Sanford and Son apart from not just Steptoe and Son, but almost every other great comedy show. You have Three's Company, right, which I love. I've talked about that on my other channel. And it's Larry. Jack's big friend is Larry. And then you got the Ropers. It's a very small group, which makes it feel a little more intimate, where it's closer. But with Sanford and Son, it's just a huge group of friends. Right, even guys like I said, where you have later on when you have Hutton, and then you got or Hutch, and then you got Elroy. You have these other guys who might have only been there for half a season or a season, but they were still impactful. So they're so huge, and not too many shows have a big group of friends like this spanning a 6-year series. So Julio, he comes in. This is episode 2, episode 8. Like I said, right after Rollo. It's called The Puerto Ricans Are Coming. The only sad part this, and I forget it sometimes. I keep thinking sometimes, not always, but when you were at the end of season 1, right before the Piano Movers, the Return of the Barracuda, I always feel like forget and think that's Melvin's last episode. You're like, oh, you know, Bubba's coming in, season 2, Rollo's coming in, Melvin's on his way out, which always makes me sad. And then I forget that in this one, Melvin's in it when Julio makes his debut. Melvin's hanging out, and they're got the banging, the noise, and Fred's sick of it. This is not episode breakdown. I'll get to just him coming in. So Chico comes in, and he's eating the stuff on Fred's table, and Fred comes in, and he's not happy. Julio comes in speaking Spanish. So right off the bat, he's like, and he's talking to Chico, and Lamont's trying to pull him back, and Fred comes in, and he's just like, oh my gosh. And he tries to talk to him in Spanish, doing the old Elo, I love Lucy, who used to do that with Ricky or his family when she would try to speak Spanish. So he's doing that old gag, and then Julio, rightfully, he's like, what? I don't understand. And you're probably thinking, the poor guy, he's like, what the heck? Why is this guy speaking to me like this? Like, does he even understand English? And it goes in, and there's nothing about Julio where it's like, I like him. That's what I like about the introduction is he's so likable. He comes in, he's got his pet goat. He's like, hey, I apologize. Let's get him out of here. And then he gets the stuff off his hand. You know, he shakes all the dirt, the hair, probably from Chico. And he shakes his hand. Very nice neighbor. And he's new. And Fred is like, nope. And I'm not going to shake it. No, goat lover. And he's, oh, you got something against goats? And he's like, no. He's all, you got something against, what was it? I can't remember the name. But then he's all, maybe you have something against Puerto Ricans. And Fred's all, now you got it. Now you got it. And that's the thing. This one, Julio doesn't get really any laughs in that, so you gotta, you know, it's almost, he's not as bad as Bubba to me, because when I look at this Julio in this small introduction when he's talking with Fred, I feel like that's the same Julio a season from now. It might have been maybe Julio gets plenty of jokes and laughs throughout the series. I love Julio, but as it goes through it, you feel like this one, he's nice. They're setting up the character. Everything about Julio is the same, but he doesn't get the same jokes like you might have seen as we talked about with Melvin when he came in. But as he does that, or even Rollo, who didn't really get the jokes, but Rollo was still so cool, you had to laugh when he came in and was giving the cigar and doing high fives. But Julio comes in, and as he says that, he gets mad at him, and he's like, oh, you give bad vibes. So he gets ticked at Fred, and they're going back and forth, and he's trying to, you know, Fred wants to fight him, and Julio's like, nah, I'm mad at you, give bad vibes, and he leaves. And that's our first introduction to him. To me, when I watch that, I go, that's a good introduction. It's not great. It's not the best, as we've already covered with Melvin, but it's still a really good introduction. He gets Fred. He sets up Fred for the laugh, and we get to see, hey, he's a polite person, and he stays the same. So that is it with Julio. With him, he gets a B. So for right now, we got Bubba with a C+ at the bottom. I think that's as low as we get. We got Julio with a B. We got Rollo with the A. And we got Melvin with the A+. So there's just 2 left we're going to hit up right now. And let's get to Esther. And we know she ain't Fred's friend. In real life, we know Red was great friends, but with this, she isn't. She comes in, she's season 2, episode 15. So all the big guns are coming out in season 2, which I'm so excited in our channel to be getting to that, coming up with episode breakdown. So this one's called, this one was, I didn't put the name of it. That's the one where they do the party, the big party. I think that's what it is. And her first word she comes in is, hello, Lamont. Kind of like Melvin, but she's just like, hello, Lamont. Lamont answers the door, and they're talking. And Chico starts describing everything. Oh, I got this, my knees, this pain, all these things. And he's like, all Lamont wanted to say was, how are you doing? And usually the proper thing would be like, oh, I'm doing fine, or, you know, I'm having a few issues. She goes in all things and then sets up Fred. But don't worry, she gets hers, but sets up Fred for the joke. And Fred's like, Esther, what do you tell people? When I start to say the lines and the scene plays in our mind, I cannot. That's why when I do a lot of these, when you bust up laughing, it's because I can think it and not laugh. But when you actually talk about it and I'm playing it out in my head, like I'm seeing the TV screen in my head, you have to laugh when you see Fred's like, Esther, what do you tell people when you're sick? Because it's like, yeah, what do you do at the deathbed? And so she's like, you know, what does she say exactly? Anyway, she's just like, you know, not happy with Fred. And then he's like, you know what? And he gets another good one off when he's like, you ought to go to hang out by Forest Lawn and just wait a while. Like basically she's nearing death. So he sits down, and what I like about it is that Fred starts to, kind of say, she was talking about how he was loaded. Oh man, you're so loaded. And he's like, at the wedding, to Elizabeth. And he's like, well, I had to be loaded to look at your ugly family. And she always says this, how dare you talk about my ugly family? And he's like, I'll do anything. I'll talk about your ugly family. And he goes, I had to be loaded just to look at them that day. And then he goes, for years they say black, and this is such a great line. He's like, for years they say black is beautiful. And then they saw your family and like, hold it. And he puts the hands up, both hands up, and he's like, hold it, hold it. And that drives Esther nuts. And they get up and then they start going to blows. Fred gets most of the laughs. Esther does get a few laughs, so with her comments. And then when they go and she's ready to fight, so they're standing toe to toe, and Lamont and they're taking swings, and Lamont has to come and break it up. So as an introduction to Esther, yes, they do a great job of setting her up. She comes in because Esther is a lot of times super nice to Lamont, and she's even friendly when she first sees Fred. She's like, "How you doing, Fred?" She's nice to him, and then he cuts loose, and then she's like, "No, the gloves are off." But what we get is with Esther is that we know she's no nonsense. She's not going to put up with crap from anybody. She's a tough girl, and she'll throw blows with you. She'll take you on. Remember we seen her when she sees the man who ran over Woody's foot, and she's like, or no, that was Fred's foot who got run over, but who robbed her Woody's store. And she's like, that's the man, the gangster. Isn't it Mr. Big? She's like, that's the man. I'll swear it. She'll swear it on her own Bible. So we know that Esther, the entire series, is tough, loyal to God, and loyal to truth and honesty. And she steps up right there, and she's ready and she'll fight. So everything about her, when we see Esther this first time, if we didn't see her for another year and saw another episode, we would say, hey, that's the same woman. She doesn't evolve. Her jokes get bigger. Watch it, sucka. We get a lot of stuff with Esther and great comical lines, but she is a legendary figure in television history, not just Sanford and Son. But on this is a great introduction. Fred, like I said, gets most of the jokes. That's why her final grade is an A, not an A+, because she didn't get all, just as many jokes. It was mostly, hey, fool, hey, this, don't call this, and then Fred responds with a joke. Don't do this, Fred responds with a joke. And it was a great setup, but as we see it go on, Fred will say something, and Esther responds with a joke, then as we go through the series. But her character stays the same. Absolutely love Esther's introduction. And like I said, that was Season 2, Episode 15. Now we'll get to our last one, and that is Grady. Yay! Personally, Grady, and I got to say, if I had a friends list, man, it's hard. We just don't get enough Melvin. But I got to put Grady number one. And on our other channel, we did these polls before, and Grady usually always won. Grady is so funny. Heck, he even had his own show. No one else here on this had their own spin-off show. How great Grady did filling in for Red when he was out. But let's get to Grady's first introduction. Season 3. Now, this is great. If you look up sometimes, it's funny because a lot of things I'll look up that I don't already know by watching or from previous knowledge. When I look it up, I'll use Wikipedia. You'll use other websites. You'll go on there. They actually get this wrong. They say Grady's first episode. Here it's season episode 2. They say episode 5 when he gets this little TV went to the market, where he's got the little ticky-tacky toes, as Julio says it, when they're playing on the TV gets stolen from Groovy Grab Bags. Guys, Groovy Grab Bag. That's not true. That's not his first episode. Comment below if you thought it was that too. I couldn't remember his first episode. I always felt he had already been established. So before that, I was going through. I wanted to watch his first episode, and I thought his first episode was the one where Fred has to go up. Remember where Lamont is? He's trying to take on. Look at his, what is it? Libra rising, and he wants to be calm and deal with Fred. And Fred had the 8-day-old collard greens, and that was the reason I knew is because I'm like, Grady wasn't in season 3, episode 1. I know he's never in episode 2. And I remember him talking to Fred as he was going up the stairs saying, so let's get to that. So they were actually wrong online. So don't always believe everything you see on the internet. Believe your own eyes. Grady, season 3, episode 2, Libra rising all over Lamont. And Grady walks in. And as he walks in, Fred's sick. And Grady walks in and he's like, good goobly goop. Good goobly whoop. That's how he says it. So right off the bat, we're getting Grady's famous trademark. He says good goobly goop before, but in this one, if you look at it and the way he says it, he goes good goobly whoop. And he sees Fred, and Fred's like, man, you look like you're half dead. And he starts cracking up the joke. He's saying things, but he's trying to not be. So with Grady, as he's sitting there, how is his character there? Other than that shorter hair, like remember he gets a bigger hair and beard, but he looks great. He looks like Grady. He's calm. He's always got that like straight seriousness. He's calm, and he's so easygoing, and he's sitting there calmly talking a story about, at the pool hall, or was it the bar or the pool hall, and his friend died right there. And he died on the spot, and that's how it always is that Grady will set up this story where you don't know how it's going to end, and then he just abruptly... So we get that, and that's true. And then he's telling him, talking to Fred, and then he tells him how his cousin Charles had the same... Because he's like, oh, you got a sharp pain here? And he's like, yeah, you know. He said, I think Lamont doesn't want me to know. And so Fred's not getting a lot of the jokes. The only time he does is when he says, or I'll get to that first. But as he sits there and goes, yeah, my cousin Charles, he had the same symptoms. And Fred's like, well, what did he take for it? He's all, I can't even say it, his last breath. The way he says it too, where he's like, his last breath. And then Fred's like, all sad and scared. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going up there. I'm going to go do the walk. And as he starts to go up, he goes, you know, I might not make it. It might be the last time. I might not be coming back down no more. He said, oh, well, they'll have to bring you down for the funeral, Fred. The whole thing, and the only funny line Fred really gets is he's like, man, why are you talking to me like that? I'm supposed to be a friend of yours, and you know, you're saying these things about me dying. So this is rare in the fact that, kind of like with Melvin and Fred, they went back and forth. Grady gets most of the jokes off here, right? When I see the scene, everything that makes me laugh is Grady. The only thing that makes me bust up is just Fred's stare, the way he looks, or like when he says, why are you saying that? You're supposed to be a friend of mine. But everything about that is Grady. It's all Grady's jokes. They really do a great introduction for him. And does his character stay the same? Yes. Of course, he gets a little more animated, especially in his own series. That's supposed to happen, right? He's not a side character. And after he had his own series, he was involved a lot more and was a little more outspoken. But overall, his character was the same. It was Grady season 3, Grady season 4. I mean, it was he is my favorite character. And his grade as introductions for the first time seeing him is an A+. So as we go through all these, you got Grady and Melvin, both A+. You got Esther with she was an A-, right? Because she didn't get too many jokes. Before Aunt Esther, though, you also had Rollo with the A, then Aunt Esther with the A-. So those guys were all top-notch, great introduction, and they were all some of the best characters. And then Julio, he was a B, right? Because he didn't really get any jokes. It was just Fred, and but he did the reason it was not a C is because his character stays the same, and we really should like his character. Very kind throughout the whole episode, too, as Fred continues to be a bigot towards him. And then finally, Bubba with a C+. Yeah, if you just watch all these introductions, if you just go down and watch each introduction, you would probably look at it and say, if you listed people you would be excited to see more in the show, Bubba would have to be the least. And when reality, he's one that turns out to be probably one of the top with Grady. And as we did the episode, or the fun fact on Don Bexley, man, you fall in love with him, who he was off the camera as well. So that makes me like Bubba even more. So all these characters are personal to us. They're personal to, you know, we love them. They will always have a dear spot in our hearts. But going through the introductions, it appears that Grady and Melvin and possibly Esther had the best ones. Rollo as well. So list your comments. Who's your favorite introduction out of all of them? Who is your favorite character? And is there anyone I left off the list besides some that are later on? Did I forget somebody? You know, let me know. And I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Sunday morning, so have a great Sunday. Or I'm not filming it, but I'm posting it Sunday morning. So enjoy your Sunday. Like, if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe. We're only going to keep growing, and we're going to keep putting out more stuff. If you love Sanford and Son, even if you don't like listening to me, you're going to get shorts, you're going to get fun facts and other things, and you're going to get quizzes and polls and whose line, what's the line Wednesday, and finish that line Friday, and what's the whatever. We have so many stuff. You should have subscribed by now. Talk to you guys later. Peace.